And you'll wake up when you're 35, if you're not careful, if you're female, and you'll think, oh, I don't have any time left to have kids. So many young women, you ask them at 19, well, do you want to have children? They think, oh, well, I don't think so. It's like, you don't know what you're talking about,
darling.
And why people have decided that you should be some sort of authority about it is nothing but an index of how pathological our culture has become. You don't know anything. You're a child. You haven't read anything. You haven't accomplished anything. Your parents have taken care of you up to this point. And it's...
I mean, in terms of
so
what
therefore you should have a baby.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, imagine...
Where does that conclusion come? It's like comes in like Mary fucking Poppins.
Imagine you could say the same thing even about an 18-year-old guy who thinks he wants to go and study medicine at university, right? You can say, oh, you think you're 18, you don't know how the world is, you don't know what the hell you're going to like at 30, and you think you want to go and study medicine. You can just say the same thing to any 18-year-old, because 18-year-olds are generally like, inexperienced and just don't know the way the world is.
How can this be an argument for his contention that, I don't know, young women should have more children or think more about that? Saying that they're really naive and don't know what they want, so therefore they should bring another human being into the world and be the primary caregiver for them.
At 18 as well.
Peterson, I'm not following you. I'm following you.
This is where the Mott and Bailey routine really gets into play with things like that. So he's just said, let me try and do my best to make sure I get it accurate. You correct me if you think I'm wrong. He's saying that if you don't have children as a female by the age of 35, you're going to regret it. And yet you could pressure him and talk about you show evidence, you can question, you can object. And the way that he and his audience retreat is they're just going to say, we're just saying that women are biologically, they tend to want to have children, and they've been evolutionary, their evolution has made it so that it's something that they get great joy from. And it's like, yeah, I agree. That's not more often than not, fair enough. I agree. I think that's probably true, but that's not what he said. And it's just, I don't know, part of me thinks that he says that, he knows it's going to trigger the hell out of people. And then you get to pick the nuts, the ones that were the most crazy, and go, God, look, the left just can't take it.
And compare this to what he said about COVID restrictions as well. So he's apparently an authority to tell young women about, well, he's not directly saying that, right? But to at least heavily imply that young women should be having children or thinking more about that or whatever exactly he would say, right? Because they don't know what's good for them and all of these other things. Couldn't you just say exactly the same thing about Peterson? And Peterson, you don't know anything about what you're talking about. It's not about you. You need to think about the broader picture here. You need to keep wearing your mask, buddy. Why is one authoritarian and Marxist, and the other one is, oh, that's just fine, that's just being responsible. I don't get that. It seems that what Peterson is saying now is way more, even if he's not saying the state should do this, but I think that he would say the state should support programs and things that
we'll see. Yeah,
we'll see that, right? But even if he's not saying that, there's still socially authoritarian. But then wearing a mask, it's that's the bridge too far. This is what I don't see. I can kind of see someone taking a principled approach that's a lot more authoritarian across the board, or that's a lot more permissive across the board. And maybe there's a difference there that you can articulate, but there's almost no awareness really there that these views are, I think, quite hard to reconcile because of the attitude towards what counts as authoritarianism, that there seems to be no consistency here.
A meta point to make as well is look at the name of this channel, for example, Mindset. So this whole sort of cottage industry of little YouTube channels taking Jordan Peterson clips and saying here's how you have alpha mindset, or how you be a modern person in the modern world, and there's all that aspect to it. And the other thing I want you to imagine is Jordan Peterson's target audience, which is young, disillusioned men. So imagine you're a 19-year-old who's kind of struggling with becoming an adult and understanding the way the world is and stuff. You're adopting some of Peterson's philosophy. You think he's got some good hot takes on these things. You get in your first serious relationship and Peterson's telling you to have a baby. Is that good advice? No, that is a recipe to mess up your life and bring another life into the world, right? Where potentially in the wrong sort of relationship, and Peterson's going to make all these claims about marriage and shackling yourself to someone and things like that, which are also, it's these are just such bad hot takes for people.
Yeah. Also, I just had a look in chat, and I know that...
Yeah, let me bring... Is it this one?
Yeah, that's one.
Yeah.
This is exactly what I was talking about, plausible deniability. He gets... Yeah. Can you... Because I'm hidden now, and it looks like I'm talking...
Yeah. We can't see you at all. You're hidden now, okay?
You could flip the view if you've changed the perspective.
No, it's fine. I think we get the idea, right? So the idea is that I'm manipulating his words because Jordan Peterson didn't say that young women should have children, right? And I actually said that, right? I said, look, it's unclear exactly what he's saying, but the question is, what point do you think he is making? Is he just saying that many women regret it? Well, I don't know empirically.
Just asking questions.
Let's say some proportion of women regret it by the age of 35. Let's say that that's true, right? I mean, it's more than zero, right? So it's a pretty safe claim, right? That's the only point that he's making. By the way, it just occurred to me the other day that some proportion of women by the age of 35 regret not having children. That's all I wanted to say. Goodbye. Like, come on. Like, seriously? That's not all he's saying. Don't be daft. Like, don't be ridiculous.
It doesn't exist in a vacuum. Yeah, it's said, and it's the way that people interpret him as well. It's like, what happens? You get like conservatives, religious conservatives, evangelicals that are like trying, very much follow the traditional. Again, it's not traditional because they don't have slaves, but you get the traditional Christian household, and they absolutely read what we're talking about. But the thing is he just hasn't said should. He hasn't been prescriptive. He's been descriptive, but very aggressive in the way that he's presented it.
Though the way he's talking is prescriptive. Just because you don't say should doesn't
mean
you're not being prescriptive.
I agree with you, but like this is the get out of jail free card. It works. It's like
it's just a message for young women.
If I say, look, if you don't do this, you're going to regret it. Don't tell me that's. I'm just saying you might regret it. Like, come on, you can't argue it. Like, what's
they're taking it out of context, man. You didn't say should.
It's so pathetic.
Dangerous for the women because they don't understand where they're headed, and other women lie to them. They don't sit the 19-year-olds down and say, look, like, you should pursue a career. You're smart. You've got something to offer.
Yeah, so women who have had this experience and disagree with Peterson's take here, they're liars as well, rather than being like potentially, counter evidence, right, in favor of Peterson's position.
And society needs your intelligence. But you better look the hell out because women have complicated lives and they also have to have a family. And you're going to struggle like mad.
They have to have a family. They have to have a family.
There you go.
Balance those two things.
Sorry. Because I've got this tab open, I can't see when like people are speaking and stuff.
Oh no, I'm just saying I'm with you there. It's the have to. Like, okay, that's doing a lot of work.
Yeah, so I do want to draw out something that I think is correct in what Peterson is saying here, that our society has well, I like talking in our society. Many people in our society place a lot of pressure on women to succeed in a career and also have a family, and they need to do that sort of at the same time because of this biological imperative. Like, you can't have children when you're in your 50s. Even 40s is difficult for many women. So that is very difficult, and I know that that's an issue, right?
But not 35, like he said, right?
Well, the risk of birth defects does increase, but yes, 35 is not like it's a hard cutoff by any means. But anyway, the point I was making here is that I do agree that there is truth in what Peterson is saying about the pressure that's put on a lot of young women. And that's unfair, and that we should change that. It's a little unclear exactly how to change that, because I think that you don't want to go to a simplistic route of, being a mother is not important. Well, that's obviously not true, right? Or having a career is not important. Well, that's not true either. And it's not like, nor do you want to say, which I think is sort of what people want to say, is, you can just have everything. Well, no, there are trade-offs in life, and a lot of people can't just have everything. Some people can take care of multiple children and pursue their career like full time, and that's really good for them. But not everyone can do that. People are in different positions. So I think that we do have to maybe have a better discourse about this, particularly for women, because we sort of have different attitudes with respect to men. And I think that it's been a little problematic that with the sort of second wave feminism in the 70s, with more women entering the workforce, where it became acceptable for a married woman to hold work, which previously wasn't the case in the West, at least for middle class women. But that sort of went one way, right? It was women entering the workforce, but still having that double duty of taking care of the kids and disproportionate amount of the housework. That there hasn't been the other side of that, which is men going in and doing more of the domestic work and looking after the kids. I think we've seen a little bit of that, maybe more recently. Stay-at-home dads is kind of more of a thing than it was, right? But I think that we maybe haven't figured that out as a society as to exactly what this sort of looks like. Anyway, so I'm not trying to be prescriptive there. I'm just sort of raising that I think this is an issue, and that I think that Peterson is pulling at something, referencing something genuine here. But I don't know that he has any particular advice about what to do about this.